Hello and welcome to Bud Explained, where I take a subject, be that rules, history or concept, from the role-playing world and try to explain it to you in a way that I hope helps you understand how it works. Today's explanation is Home in Delta Green, the role-playing game. The bits that happen in between missions in Delta Green are supposed to be played out as short vignettes in order to examine if and how involvement has changed an agent's life. It would be best described as a partially interactive phase of play. It is a time for the agent to take stock of what has changed since the last mission and to see if this has affected their bonds, if they have any permanent injuries, which disorders are gained, how it affects their work and the possible ramifications of the mission, including being fired or even arrested and prosecuted. Additionally, it's a way for agents to follow their personal pursuits. There are a number of pursuits listed in the agent's handbook. One of the things they may do is to just roll with life and do what they need to do day by day to support a non-Delta Green bond. To do this, a SAN test is rolled and a success improves the bond by D6 up to a maximum of the agent's charisma. A critical success also increases their SAN by 1 up to a maximum of the usual power times 5, though a fumble reduces the bond by D4 and SAN by 1. This improvement or worsening of the relationship is to be described by the player. Another option is to simply get back to nature, whether this be a family vacation or hiking alone. It is simply getting away from it all. If this is pursued, a non-Delta Green bond is reduced by 1 and a SAN test is rolled. Success adds D4 SAN, 4 for a critical up to their power times 5 maximum, and a fumble costs D4. They can also try to establish a new bond with a person or group. This is a charisma times 5 roll with success establishing a new one at half the agent's charisma score rounded up. Sadly, a byproduct of this is reducing another non-Delta Green bond by D4. The agent can also go to therapy. The first thing the player needs to do is to decide if they will tell the therapist what truly caused the SAN loss. If they say that it was lost from unnatural sources, they'll be treated for schizophrenia, and if the therapist actually believes the agent, they can actually lose SAN themselves from hearing the stories. Should the therapist think the agent to be delusional, they roll their psychotherapy at a minus 20% penalty. A fumble causes the agent to worsen, losing 1 SAN. Success gains them D6, 6 with a critical up to their maximum. Of course, tales of violence, murder and theft will likely have the therapist call the authorities. Not being truthful limits the healing that the therapist can achieve. The player makes a luck roll. A fumble loses 1 SAN, a success gains them D4, 4 on a critical up to their maximum. As explained in my video on bonds, the agent can also form an attachment to a therapist if they cure any disorders they have. Another pursuit an agent can do is to improve a skill or stat. This reduces a non-Delta Green bond by 1 as responsibilities tend to lapse. Stats can be improved using a variety of methods. For example, strength can be improved by doing weight training. Skills can be improved in a similar method, and the increase is either D10 for a skill or +1 to a stat to a maximum of 18. Agents can also pursue personal motivations, things like hobbies, going to church, or anything else that counts in this way. This, as per increasing stats and skills, reduces a non-Delta Green bond by 1 and then they roll a SAN check. Success means they gain a point of SAN or D4 on a critical up to their maximum. A fumble costs 1 SAN. They can also use the home phase to study special training, however it affects their bonds as per skill improvement. Another option agents have is to stay on the case, spending their evenings and weekends poring over evidence and the like. This reduces 1 non-Delta Green bond by 1 and the handle rolls either criminology or occult for the agent. A success means they discover a useful piece of information or an especially valuable one with a critical. A fumble is disastrous in that they are convinced that they found a pertinent clue, but they are dangerously wrong. This phase actually has the side effect of adjusting their SAN by D6 minus 3, as they either come to terms with what has happened with a SAN gain, or fall deeper into a downward spiral if they lose SAN. Agents can also spend this time studying the unnatural, be that a foul tome, case report, or some other source. This raises the agent's unnatural skill at the handler's discretion, but lowers a bond by D4 as their humanity slowly drains away. In addition to all of the ways that an agent can attempt to help themselves in the home phase, it also details with the potential consequences of being part of Delta Green, that of being fired from their day job and being prosecuted for breaking the law while on a mission. Often, agents can return to work suffering from PTSD that the handlers should go into in this phase. Should your agents have just gone too far with their employer, they need to make a charisma times 5 roll to sweet talk their boss, and if things have been really neglected, they could need a persuade or bureaucracy test to have a potential firing reduced to something of a lesser degree such as suspension or a disciplinary. If the test is failed, they are fired and have to make a SAN check and either lose 0 or 1 point from helplessness, and each bond must be tested against or D4 is lost from each, with a further 20% penalty to the roll if a bond was a fellow employee. Agents are also at risk of either being caught performing an unlawful act or evidence being left behind linking them to a crime scene. The agent needs to make a luck roll if the handler thinks it's appropriate. This roll can be at a plus or minus 20% chance if they have a weak case or Delta Green is pulling the strings in the background for them. Before this, a law skill is needed, and success gives an automatic plus 20%, plus 40% with the critical, with the inverse being applied as penalties for failures and fumbles. If the luck roll passes, the agent is acquitted and each bond must be tested against or D4 is lost for each failure. Failing the luck roll means that they are either convicted or admit guilt with a plea bargain. They'll lose their job and 0 or D4 SAN and must make the same test against all bonds or lose D6 from each one. In addition to this, a plea bargain where they expose Delta Green could go very badly for them in the short term. Okay, to summarise. Home is a semi-interactive phase of the game that covers days, weeks or months where the agent attempts to live a normal life, regain SAN through isolation or therapy, learn new skills, increase existing ones or raise stats or perhaps go further down the rabbit hole of the foul secrets that Delta Green keeps. It is also the part of the game where the consequences of reckless agents' actions can catch up with them. If you found this video useful, don't forget to like and share it and make sure to subscribe for more Bud Explains videos in the future. Bud out.